Hello, 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 hello. Thank you all for coming out. I'm Neville Wisdom, and my shop is on Broadway, downtown New Haven, for those of you who don't know who I am. And I just want to have a conversation about my process and things that I've been asked that I try to explain sometimes, and I'm still trying to figure this out. None of what I'm saying is law. It is just a conversation. So I hope you enjoy what I have to say, and thank you for coming out.
Thank you for that lovely introduction, Neville. But let me really spill the beans here. So I'm from a family of 11 kids. My two older brothers that I didn't actually know died at a very early age. Very unfortunate. But I have 8 siblings living. I never grew up around my dad much, and I've always thought about what my life would be if I did. And quite frankly, I actually really like where I am as an individual right now, and so I, try to always look at it from a positive sense, as typically a lot of times people will use it as a deterrent or a negative impact. But mine has been particularly interesting, and which brings me to fashion design. Now, fashion design was brought about by necessity. How can I solve a basic problem that means so much to me without just trying to acquire money to be able to solve the idea of having a lot of clothes and looking fly. So I decided that since my mother knew how to sew and we had a sewing machine at home, why don't I just learn how to make my own clothing? And clothing for me was always important because it gave me an escape, a way to transcend from a mental perspective. I loved what clothes did for me. I loved the way it made me feel when I was wearing something really cool, especially something that I had made myself. And so quite quickly I fell in love with it, and so the dream had shifted from becoming a chef and owning a restaurant, which I still did when I was younger, but it shifted, and fashion sort of presented itself as a way to move forward. So I could say I have dreamt about becoming a fashion designer, but I haven't really thought about it. I never really thought about what that meant to me, being a fashion designer. Because there were so many things that were left out of it. I mean, there were so many things that I didn't know because I was basing all of my interests based on the information that I was receiving at the time, living in this very rural parts of the world where the only sort of mainstream thing that's happening is American television. Uh, Now you can understand why I am in America. People ask me all the time, why you leave Jamaica? It's so beautiful. Then this is why. I left it because I want to be a fashion designer. uh, and in a sense, very true. But I eventually migrated to the States, which is why I'm here. And I got to sort of follow that path and try to figure out why I wanted to be a fashion designer. And I have learned so much from this experience. and it's taught me a lot. But one of the things that I'm more aware of now is that it's a representation of the way I look at life in general, or from my perspective. You know, my disclaimer: I don't expect anybody else to be doing this. This is just me. But I I've had like an amazing experience, and this is definitely how I live on a day-to-day basis. And so fashion for me has also transcended in a way I didn't expect it to to happen. And so now it's really me as my whole being, as opposed to just me being around a sewing machine or working with fabrics to come up with a design that can be worn to express oneself. So my approach for fashion design has it's been something that I've always been interested in, as to why do I do this? You know, why am I a fashion designer? And figuring out why do I love it? Why do I dream about it? Why did I dream about it so much? And so it's given me an opportunity to think about being able to accomplish a task or any one thing that's set out to do, which is such a precious thing in our human being, that I think, it's just, again, I think as a human, it's very important for you to be able to get to a dream, to get to some place where you've thought that would be like dynamic and lovely and fantastic. And because I like to focus on the positives, that's usually where I try to keep my focus. So I became this person who I truly love, and I love the way that I approach fabric in this sort of like non-conformative way, where I can try to be in control, but I'm only limited to to so much. I'm only limited to so much because the fabric drapes in a way that the construction of it, its old self, its old being, the gravity, its connection with gravity, its connection with the way that it's made, and I learned so much from this process of designing. And so I'm in a constant battle of control, while I'm really trying to be at peace with whatever it is that is presented in the form that is present, and try to use that to my best advantage. Doesn't really sound like fashion too much, but it is. I don't know, maybe I just think about things a little bit too deep. But anyway, I love sitting around a sewing machine with a water fabric or a cut of fabric, and then wanting to create something from it, and creating something from it. That process, you know, that process of what I want to do, or and what I'm allowed to do, and how that marries into sort of like the first thought, and then takes on directions where I can where it presents itself, where I can learn from that experience, and then having that come into a dress or a shirt or a pants, or some clothing that one can wear, and also be transcended to a place of happiness and joy. I've come to realize that in an unfortunate situation, there can also be a very positive outcome. I remember when I thought about how unfortunate it is that I grew up being poor, because that was my thought. I was poor. We were poor. But I now realize how rich my childhood must have been. If someone were to pay for it right now, it's going to cost a lot of money. But I was free to run around in the bushes and go to the river and catch shrimp or river lobsters, we call them janga, and go forage a couple of foods and peppers and things that we need to cook. We would leave early in the morning and we would bring some pots and pans and we would make a fire at the side of the river, and we would cook. And it was so lovely. It was very organic, and I crave those experiences now. And I have to make reservations and trip plans and plan all of this stuff and pay quite a bit of money to re-experience that. And so I'm often asked how important is fashion to me, and I would say fashion is at the very core of my understanding as being a human. When I think about what we have to do as rituals, and our day-to-day activities, and what do they include, in most cases it starts with us wearing clothes. And so every morning we do this for as long as we live, and then when we're no longer around, someone else decides what we wear. But so it's very dear to us. It's a part of us, and so it's very important. It's a very important way how we look at life in general. I think it's very important for us to have our own representations as individuals who want to express themselves from the standpoint of their belief system, which is so, it's such a wide span. I mean, like, where at what point do we get influenced by something that we've seen or heard that directs us to the rest of our life, that becomes our whole life goals. I am very, very, very happy when I sit around a sewing machine and go from possibly table to table, that little connections that are made through a form and some scissors and the needles and the machines and stitching together something that can be representative, be a representation of me or an individual. I get so much joy out of this one-on-one with my customers when I make a dress for them and they are truly happy about it. They feel good. It makes them feel good. It makes them feel that they can represent themselves in a way that will make them feel confident and be their true self in the most common way of expressing oneself. Fashion design for me is very complex. It's the colors. It's the way that different fabrics can marry each other and still be at peace, and be able to create something beautiful. To me, it's phenomenal. I am trying to spill over into this idea. I want to be I want to be taken over. I want to be so involved that my senses know how to react just because of that familiarness, that joy that I feel when I design something. And that's what being a fashion designer means to me. I hope you have enjoyed. I thank you again for coming. Have a beautiful night.
Thank you.